On the day I got married to Ivan in a flash, his childhood sweetheart cried and asked him, if she and I quarrel in the future, whose side will you be on? Ivan impatiently said she was being silly, but every time, he stood by her side. When his childhood sweetheart self-directed and self-acted to be bullied, Ivan was convinced that I was the one who did it and forced me to clarify and admit my mistake on the internet. Daisy, if you do something wrong, you should apologize, but he didn't know. Every time I apologized, it was the countdown to our separation. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. After going through the last 3 plots of being forced to apologize, I could leave the system and go home. Susan, a popular young actress, was exposed for meddling in the relationship between Ivan and me, knowingly being the other woman. On the same day, she rushed into the studio and scratched my wrist. When my manager, Lily, grabbed Susan and was about to call the police, Ivan arrived. As soon as he came, Susan shed tears. Ivan, people on the internet are scolding me. Can you ask Daisy to clarify for me? Everyone knew that she was the childhood sweetheart that Ivan had doted on and grown up with. Every time after she framed me and cried, Ivan would always think it was my fault. Lily also realized this and was so angry. Based on just one photo, why do you think it's Daisy? The photo exposing Susan was spread all over the internet. In the photo, Susan was standing on tiptoe, trying to kiss Ivan. Coincidentally, I happened to have a similar photo in my phone, so Susan insisted that I was framing her. I looked up at Ivan, about to explain, but he held my wrist. He always had a calm and composed look, but when his eyes fell on my bandaged wrist, he frowned. Does it hurt? The warmth of his fingertips came through the gauze. Maybe I was so dazed by the pain at that moment. I almost thought that Ivan would believe me this time, but the next second, Ivan let out a soft laugh. Since you know it hurts, why did you do such a thing? My heart suddenly skipped a beat and kept sinking with these words. I slowly looked up and met Ivan's eyes. I saw blatant mockery in his pitch-black eyes. Daisy, he pinched my chin and forced me to look at him. Why can't you learn your lesson? Ivan still didn't believe me. He was sure that I was jealous and sent that photo. He asked me to clarify and admit my mistake on the internet. As soon as he finished speaking, the studio fell into a deathly silence. I didn't look up, but I felt many eyes on me, relying on Ivan. Susan had snatched a lot of resources and endorsements from me over the years. Now my situation is extremely difficult. Apologizing at this time would completely cut off my path. Ivan knew this better than anyone, but he didn't show the slightest bit of mercy. I looked up at him, my nose sour and uncomfortable. So from the beginning, you came here to blame me for her. From the moment he entered the door, I even had a glimmer of hope, thinking that I had been by Ivan's side for 5 years. He would stand by my side at least once, but never. Now Ivan is a figure that the whole city depends on. His eyebrows and eyes haven't changed much compared to 5 years ago. His downward-looking eyes always carry a bit of tenderness. I'm not for anyone. He looked at me, saying each word clearly. Daisy, if you do something wrong, you must make up for it. It was this sentence again. But Ivan, what right do you have to convict me so casually? The system couldn't bear to watch and sighed. I've told you long ago not to develop real feelings when doing the mission. Hold on a little longer. This is the last 3 apology missions. Host, 7 years ago, I was dragged into this world. The only way to go home is to be the wronged original partner who endures humiliation and complete the stupid plot mission of being forced to apologize. And now, there are only the last 3 left. The sudden ringing of the phone broke the silence. Lily answered the phone, but the next second, the color drained from her face. Daisy, Lily looked up at me, her voice hoarse. The Best Actress award has been given to someone else. My throat tightened. What? This was the award I had fought for with my life through 7 years of hard work. Because of one close-up shot, I soaked in cold water and filmed it more than 40 times in winter, leaving serious sequelae. Later, I was a nominee for 3 consecutive years. I thought this time I could finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. At this time, Susan leisurely poked her head out from behind Ivan and smiled at me with curved eyes. Sorry, Daisy, I forgot to tell you. Ivan said that this year's Best Actress award is my birthday gift. My brain buzzed. I looked at Ivan, suddenly unable to say anything. Susan's voice was sweet and soft, constantly drilling into my ears. Actually, I said I didn't really need it, but Ivan insisted on giving it to me. I couldn't listen anymore. I grabbed things and threw them at them all at once. Susan was scared and hid behind Ivan. Ivan stood in front of her and frowned. Stop making a scene. Stop making a scene. Do you hear me? I didn't want to lose face like this, but the tears just couldn't stop falling. I thought I must look very ugly and ridiculous at this moment. I looked at Ivan and asked him, "Why? I got that with all my efforts. What right do you have to give it to Susan?" Casually, not expecting such a big reaction from me. Ivan was stunned. "It's just an award. I'll get you one with a higher gold content next time, okay? Don't cry." "But Ivan, I don't have a next time." "Then, as you wish, I'll apologize. In this way, I can also finish the plot as soon as possible and return to my world." The clarifying Twitter post was typed out by me, crying word by word. In just a few thousand words, there was only one core meaning. I was jealous of Susan and maliciously took sneak shots to mislead netizens. After it was posted, a flood of abuse filled my Twitter. So disgusting. It turns out she took self-staged photos to hype. Susan has always said that she's a non-marriage advocate. Besides, she and Ivan have been childhood friends for more than 20 years, just pure friendship. Stop being crazy and splashing dirty water, okay? Auntie Daisy is definitely not this kind of person. I've been her fan for so many years and I know her better. Daisy, if you're being threatened, change your avatar, okay? Stop trying to whitewash. No one cares. I hope Auntie Daisy and her fans go away." Suddenly, it darkened in front of my eyes. I don't know when Ivan came back. He blocked the screen so that I couldn't see these words that don't matter. Don't take them to heart. Get through tonight, and I'll suppress the hot search. I didn't say anything. The living room was quiet. Ivan raised his hands to tuck the stray hairs behind my ear. "I explained to you about the photo at that time. Susan was drunk then. I've always regarded Susan as my sister. You don't need to keep making things difficult for her like this." It seemed that Ivan had never thought that it was Susan who came to provoke me first. He had never, ever believed me. I looked up at Ivan. Suddenly, I wanted to know if he knew that I was wronged, if he knew that every apology would accelerate my departure. What kind of expression would he have? The second to last apology came quickly. Lily couldn't stand seeing me being bullied, so she made public the marriage certificate between Ivan and me. She even added a detailed account of thousands of words about how Susan had caused trouble externally. Ivan and I had always been in a relationship. As soon as this explosive news was released, the public opinion changed direction immediately. Following hot topics has always been everyone's hobby. People don't really care about the truth. Many people rushed to Susan's accounts on various platforms and scolded her severely. I learned this news late at night. I had been seriously ill these days. In a daze, I felt someone push the door open. In the dark, I met Ivan's eyes. At that moment, I felt a bit dazed. When I was sick in the past, Ivan would be so worried that he couldn't sleep well all night. At that time, half asleep and half awake, I saw Ivan sitting by the bed, looking at me. A proud young master like him would also have red-rimmed eyes with sadness at night, but now, he looked at me quietly, with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Was it you who instigated what Lily did?" His cold fingers ran through my hair, making me shiver. He asked me with a smile in his tone. "Do you know what I've been busy with these days? I've been busy taking pictures of that limited edition necklace you've always wanted." "But what did you do, Daisy? Do you have to force Susan to death to be satisfied?" I propped myself up, my eyes full of confusion. Ivan didn't intend to give me a chance to explain. He dragged me, who was still having a fever, to the hospital. Only when I pushed open the door of the ward did I know. Susan had slit her wrists. She was lying on the hospital bed and burst into tears the moment she saw me. "I never wanted to compete with you for anything. Daisy, why can't you just let me go?" she sobbed incoherently. "When I'm discharged from the hospital, I'll leave here tonight. I won't appear around Ivan anymore." My brain was in a daze. It took me a long time to react. These are the same old tricks again, but Ivan firmly believed it. At first, I was so sad that I couldn't sleep. I explained to Ivan again and again. He seemed to be on my side, but every time he spoke, he was partial to Susan. He always said that asking me to apologize was for my own good, but he never seemed to have believed me. Later, I started arguing with Ivan. At the end of the quarrels, all that was left was grievance. Gradually, I began to realize that compared to me, Ivan subconsciously trusted this childhood sweetheart he had doted on since childhood more. No one could break into their relationship. The overwhelming tiredness surrounded me deeply. I asked him numbly, "How do you want me to apologize this time? Is it still about making up for what I've done wrong, or an eye for an eye?" Cut my wrist again. Ivan's eyes were complex. He raised his hand and pulled down the cuff that I had rolled up, his voice a bit helpless. "Don't talk nonsense." I waited quietly for what he would say next, like waiting for the final blade of the lingering death. "I've thought it over carefully. We still need to reduce the chances of you two coming into contact." Ivan looked at me. "Daisy, quit the entertainment industry. From now on, you can do anything you want. A crisp slap interrupted Ivan's words. I withdrew my hand and felt my fingertips go numb. Ivan's head was turned to the side by my slap. He turned his head to look at me and calmly finished the second half of the sentence. "I'll be with you." "No way." A hasty and flustered voice came. Lily, who had rushed over, stood at the door. She must have come in a hurry, as her chest was heaving up and down. "I did this myself. Don't make things difficult for Daisy." Lily had always been strong-willed, but that day, she stood in front of me and shed tears. She stared at Ivan, extremely sad. "I can't stand seeing Daisy being wronged like this, one thing after another. You've been partial to Susan enough over the years. It's really not easy for Daisy to get to where she is now. Can't you choose to stand by her side at least once?" Ivan still didn't change his mind in the end. Before long, I would be completely hidden from the public. On the way back with Lily, autumn rain suddenly started to fall halfway. The cold wind seemed to seep into the bones. Lily hurriedly held an umbrella for me, but the rain came so suddenly that most of me still got wet. The wet clothes stuck to my body, feeling cold and sticky. I stared at the wet cuff in silence. It seemed that it was just a rain, but it seemed that the past 7 years had been damp. The mission progress had increased to 99%. There was only one last apology left, and I could go home. I started to pack my last things and gave everything I could to Lily. Lily stared at me blankly. "What are you doing? Don't do anything stupid. Didn't Evan say he would support me? I'll spend his money and use it to support you." I put the card into Lily's hand. "You take all these for me, Daisy. No matter what happens, I'm here. If you're sad, come to me. We can divorce that Ivan guy if necessary." I turned around and walked back, waving my hand at Lily. If I had known that was the last time I saw Lily, I would have said more and said goodbye to her properly. When I left Lily's house, the sky was overcast, as if a heavy rain was about to fall. After picking up the customized watch from the store, I walked back and sent a message to Ivan. "Birthday gift. Come back early." Ivan replied quickly. His voice message carried a low laugh. "Okay, don't play tricks on me today." After being hidden from the public, Ivan almost accompanied me all the time. I called him disgusting. I found reasons to play tricks on him again and again. Ivan was very angry, but this time, I didn't plan to play tricks on him. Today was his birthday. I wanted to use this birthday gift to get Lily a better position. After I left, she would really be alone, but it seems I'm rather unlucky. The more I want to do something, the less likely I am to succeed. I was kidnapped. When I woke up, my eyes were blindfolded. It was pitch black in front of me. My wrists, tied behind my back, had lost all feeling. Fragments of conversation from not far away reached my ears. "Choose one. Which one will he pick?" Needless to say, it must be. Before I could hear the rest, it was drowned out by Susan's sobs. I suddenly tensed up in the darkness. The only connection between Susan and me was Ivan, so these people were most likely Ivan's enemies, with a choice between two. The fate of the one left behind was imaginable. Gradually, no one spoke. In the darkness, every minute and second seemed to stretch on endlessly. It was so quiet that only the sound of breathing could be heard. I moved my numb fingers, my mind groggy as I thought about how to escape. Probably due to the effect of the drug, I fell into a coma again. When I woke up again, it was even quieter all around. Footsteps approached from afar. My heart was suddenly suspended in mid-air like a thread. The blindfold was yanked off suddenly, and the dazzling light made me squint. After a couple of seconds to adjust, I could see the surroundings, an abandoned factory. In front of me was a rough-looking man. He looked down at me. His indifferent eyes held a trace of pity. My eyelashes quivered, and I had a pretty good idea of what was going on. Out of the corner of my eye, the place where Susan had been was now empty. "Don't look." Another kidnapper, not far away, took a puff of cigarette. As if he knew what I was thinking, he sneered. "You're the only one left." I was stunned for 2 seconds. My heart suddenly felt empty. Then, boundless sadness accompanied by a stabbing pain filled my entire heart. Ivan had indeed made a choice. He took Susan away, and I was left behind. Mrs. Daisy, the kidnapper threw away his cigarette. "Don't blame us. After all, he abandoned you with his own hands." I stood there in silence, my fingertips icy cold. It was the result I had expected. But when I really heard it, my eyes still turned red with the sting. I pinched my fingertips, forcing myself to calm down and think. I asked the system, if I really died in this place, would the mission fail? The system didn't respond. The system could only appear when a mission was triggered, but since they took off the blindfold to talk to me, it meant there was room for negotiation. I was taken away again, not knowing where. The kidnapper said to me, "There is a way to negotiate, though." He took out my phone and asked me to call Ivan. 50 million. As long as Ivan transfers the money, I'll let you go. A knife slid across my cheek. I stared at the phone and sensed something was wrong in this moment. You're not Ivan's enemies. The man was obviously stunned for a second, but he didn't deny it. Of course they weren't. They were actors hired by Susan. Today was supposed to be a play self-directed and self-acted by Susan. She wanted to use this opportunity to let me see her position in Ivan's heart. After Susan left, the kidnappers should have put on a show and let me go, but, upon learning that I was Ivan's wife, they got greedy. They decided to take a risky move to get a fortune. My wrists, now untied, were both painful and numb. I held the phone, feeling it was ironic Ivan could leave me in this situation. "Do you think he'll transfer the money?" Of course. The kidnappers seemed particularly confident. "Do you know who Ivan chose first?" "It was you." This answer surprised me so much that I was stunned for a second. Ivan did choose me first, but then he quickly changed his mind and chose Susan. I held the phone tightly, with the cold blade at my neck. I couldn't resist at all. I was forced to pin all my hopes on Ivan. It took 3 tries to get the call through. The moment it connected, I subconsciously let out a sigh of relief. "Ivan, they want 50 million to let me, Daisy. Have you had enough of this nonsense?" My words were interrupted coldly by Ivan. His voice carried a mockery I had never heard before. "First, a choice between 2, then a ransom of 50 million. What's next?" "In the past, no matter how much you fooled around, I didn't care. Even if you treated me like a dog, I let you have your fun. But I've said not to make things difficult for Susan anymore. Why can't you listen to me? Why can't you just leave her alone? Do you know that Susan is in the hospital for emergency treatment now? If anything happens to her this time, you can't escape responsibility." I was stunned in place. I was suddenly rendered speechless by these words. Ivan rarely lost his temper like this. Thinking carefully, the few times it happened seemed to be because of Susan. At that moment, I suddenly understood why Ivan changed his mind after choosing me. He saw through this clumsy farce and believed that I had hired the kidnappers to put on a show. He thought I was being reckless again, so he changed his mind and chose to save Susan. Ivan was angry that I had tricked him with the birthday gift, and even angrier that this farce I directed had implicated the innocent Susan. Leaving me behind was his punishment for me. I looked up, forcing back the welling up tears, and slowly asked him, "So do I need to apologize to her this time?" As long as Ivan said yes, the last mission would be triggered. I could leave and go home. I held the phone, never hoping more that Ivan would stand by Susan without hesitation. I didn't want to stay here anymore. Ivan didn't speak on the other end of the phone. Vaguely, I seemed to hear Susan's voice. The kidnapper's blade dug into my skin threateningly, signaling me to speak quickly. I felt the warm liquid trickle down my neck and into my chest. The sharp pain made me gasp. I endured the pain and waited for Ivan's answer. Time passed second by second. Ivan seemed to have finally comforted Susan. He gave a cold hum to me. He didn't even bother to say an extra word. The next second, the system appeared with a sharp beep. "Congratulations, host. The last mission has been triggered. Hurry up and apologize before the kidnappers take action. Completing this mission will allow you to go home." I suddenly relaxed all my strength. Another kidnapper noticed something was wrong and came over with a knife. He grabbed my hair and viciously gestured the knife in front of me. He told me what would happen to me if they didn't get the money. The physiological reaction of approaching death made my fingers tremble uncontrollably. I said hoarsely to Ivan, "I'm not lying to you. They want 55 million to let me go." This was indeed a farce at first, but now it's turned real. You just never believed me once. Not before. And not in this farce today. It's always been Susan provoking me. When I made this call initially, I wanted to ask you for help. I wanted to survive, but now I don't. On the other end of the phone, Ivan's breathing suddenly became heavier. I took a breath, but my tone was never lighter. "Ivan, since you don't believe me, then use my life to apologize to Susan." As soon as I finished speaking, the phone was snatched away suddenly. Before hanging up, I seemed to hear Ivan's voice. "What do you mean?" His voice suddenly became hoarse. "What are you going to do?" Ivan would never get an answer to this question, because I died. Before the kidnapper could act, I threw myself onto the tip of the knife. The system blocked my pain one step ahead. The next second, the mission completed prompt sound and the kidnapper's terrified cry mixed together. Suddenly, it exploded in my ears. The mission was completed. I felt the sounds around me getting fainter, and my consciousness gradually became blurred. As I fell to the ground, something fell out of my pocket. I looked down and saw the birthday gift I had prepared for Ivan. Birthday gift. I twitched my lips in a somewhat mocking way. I almost forgot. Today was Ivan's birthday. I died on Ivan's birthday. I fell into darkness. When I opened my eyes again, I didn't return to my original world. But my soul was brought to Ivan's side. System, what's this? The system said that I could completely leave and go home when Ivan found out about my death. Still need him to find out about my death. Soon. The system comforted me. Ivan has been searching the whole city for you. Only then did I notice the surroundings. It was the abandoned factory where I was kidnapped. Many people around were looking around solemnly, investigating something. Ivan was standing not far away. His whole body was merged into the night, and his expression was unclear, but no one dared to go up and talk to him. It was only when I floated over that I found out that Ivan had been staring fixedly at the place where I was at that time. To be precise, it was the place where Susan and I were together, but at that time, Ivan took Susan away and left me behind as a punishment. Ivan stared quietly at that empty space, his fingers clenching tighter and tighter. As if he had been hit hard in the heart by a heavy hammer, his face became paler and paler. He took a deep breath, trying to control himself not to think too much. The moment he turned around, he bumped into Susan, who rushed over from behind. She was limping, tears streaming down her face. She asked Ivan worriedly between sobs, "Ivan, there's still no news of Daisy?" Ivan's face instantly turned cold. Susan had sprained her ankle and couldn't stand steadily. The cold night wind made her whole body tremble uncontrollably. She grabbed Ivan's sleeve tightly. "It'll be okay. They just want money, so they surely won't hurt anyone. It'll be okay." In the end, I didn't know if she was trying to comfort Ivan or herself. Susan was more afraid than anyone that something would happen to me. She was the mastermind of this farce. If something happened to me, how could she get away with it? But Ivan didn't say anything. He took a step back and looked at Susan. His eyes colder than ever. Susan shrank back subconsciously under his gaze. "Ivan, don't look at me like this. I'm scared. Daisy will surely be okay. I'm also helping." Susan's words were interrupted by Ivan. His voice was low and cold. "Do you know what Daisy said in the last call she made to me? She said from the beginning, this was a play directed by you. It wasn't me." Susan immediately shook her head in denial. "Not you." Ivan's gaze fell on her face. "Then why are you in such a hurry?" Susan would never be this anxious because of me. At this moment, her eyes were wide open, looking at Ivan. The next second, tears fell down pattering. If this really had something to do with me, why would I have sprained my ankle? You know how important next week's event is to me. Ivan didn't speak. The atmosphere around them froze. At this moment, Ivan's assistant suddenly ran over. "There's progress," with this one sentence. Both of them turned their heads to look. "The investigation shows that these two kidnappers once..." The assistant stopped here, as if he had just noticed Susan beside him, and his expression turned strange. Ivan almost anticipated what he was going to say, and his voice turned cold. "Once what?" The assistant forced himself to finish the rest of the sentence. "Once had connections with people under Miss Sue." Susan's crying stopped abruptly. She looked up and met Ivan's eyes, opening her mouth, but unable to say anything. The truth came to light. Susan could no longer hide it. Ivan laughed. He grabbed Susan's wrist, his fingers tightening continuously. Usually, when Ivan was like this, it meant he was extremely angry. Susan was terrified and hurriedly started to explain. "It's not like that. I was really out of my mind about this, but I never meant to hurt her. We agreed to just put on a show and then let her go." Her voice was choked with sobs. "I really didn't know it would turn out like this." Ivan was stunned in place. He probably thought of the last call I made to him. If he had believed me a little bit at that time, I wouldn't have ended up on this dead-end road. But he didn't. I saw Ivan take a deep breath in the cold wind, so cold that the corners of his eyes turned red. He shook off Susan's wrist. "In the past, I indulged you for the sake of the late Daisy's uncle, but not anymore. When we find Daisy, you get out of City A on your own. Get out of City A." It meant cutting off all her paths. Susan stared at him, crying bitterly. I've said I didn't mean it. Besides, Daisy hasn't had an accident yet. Do you really have to be so heartless? The early morning of late autumn was misty. Ivan searched for me like crazy all night. Susan, being helped, limped along behind him, refusing to leave. The system shook its head. The people under Ivan are really useless. Throughout the night, the system had almost never stopped mocking Ivan. But at the very beginning, the system was extremely satisfied with Ivan. When I first arrived in this world, when Ivan loved me the most, when I first traveled through to this world, I was all alone. At that time, rumors spread throughout the circle. Everyone said that a young master like Ivan was just having fun with someone of my status. Everyone was guessing when he would get tired of me and dump me. Upon hearing the news, Ivan rushed back overnight. I looked up at him, not saying a word. Ivan didn't speak either. He raised his hand to cover my eyes and then lowered his head to kiss me. His voice came, muffled. He said he loved me, only me. After that day, all those rumors disappeared overnight. I had no background when I first entered the entertainment industry, so Ivan stood by me and became my backer. Anything I took a second look at would always appear in front of me the next day. Being an orphan in my original world, I had never experienced such passionate love. I thought that finally, I was doted on by heaven, but neither I nor the system knew at that time that Ivan had a childhood sweetheart who went abroad to study out of anger. The day Ivan and I got married in a flash, Susan returned to the country. Her appearance triggered the mission. From that moment on, the countdown for Ivan and me had also started. Host, it's coming. The system's voice pulled my thoughts back. Ivan's assistant rushed over in a hurry, but he looked at Ivan with an ugly expression. His lips moving, yet he couldn't say a word for a long time. Susan sensed something was wrong in the silence, and her face gradually turned deathly pale. Ivan's Adam's apple bobbed up and down. He kept turning the ring on his finger. He had been anxiously waiting for news all night, but at this moment, he was suddenly a bit afraid to hear it. I watched Ivan like this quietly, twitched the corners of my mouth, and said to the system with a smile, "Look at Ivan. He acts as if he's almost convinced himself. If he really cared about me, how could he leave me in the hands of the kidnappers? The love he talked about was all fake. I was so stupid in the past, still having illusions about him." The assistant licked his dry lips and said in a low voice, "Miss Daisy." He only said 3 words and then couldn't continue. Susan couldn't help but rush over, her voice trembling. "What happened to Daisy? Tell me quickly. Is she just injured and nothing else?" The assistant fell silent. He was genuinely sad for me for 3 seconds. I waited quietly, waited for the assistant to tell Ivan the news of my death, waiting for the final moment. The assistant finally spoke. His voice was very soft, struggling to get the words out one by one. But it was like a heavy hammer hitting Ivan's ears. Miss Daisy was killed, confirmed dead. Suddenly, it became deathly quiet all around. 3 seconds later, the gasps and horrified voices of the crowd came like waves, crashing in this open wilderness. Impossible. Susan's hands and feet turned icy cold in an instant. She was shaking all over. How could she be dead? Did you make a mistake? No one answered her. The assistant raised his hand and pointed to the abandoned factory ahead, indicating that Susan should go and see for herself. After I died, the kidnappers fled in panic. My body was hidden here. Ivan stood in the cold wind. His figure was unsteady, as if he hadn't come to his senses from the few simple words of the assistant. The next second, the sound of the wind and everyone's voices stopped at this moment. The world stood still. The system's prompt sounded in my ears. "Congratulations, host. All tasks completed. Preparing to help you leave the world. Please get ready to leave." Finally, this moment had arrived. I sniffled. It felt like the 7 years in this world had been longer than the time in my original world. The system said that loving the wrong person was a very painful thing. I looked up. The weather was gloomy today. I've never really liked cloudy days, but this city was always drizzling. System, you always asked me what I wanted to exchange my reward points for before. I've thought of it now. My death won't affect Susan, nor will it affect Ivan. After I die, Susan will still be a glamorous star, and Ivan might pretend to be sad. After a while, he'll start a new life as well. I died at their hands, so I want to use some of the points to change their endings. I was silent for a second, then said softly, "I want them to be plagued by illness and live a life worse than death." The system agreed. After it agreed, all the sounds around me gradually became blurred. My vision gradually faded into darkness. The system asked me if I had any regrets. I thought the most regrettable thing was that I didn't get to say goodbye to Lily properly. Probably she still didn't know the news of my death, but I didn't want her to get this news too soon. She had secretly felt sad for me many times during this period. This time, she would probably cry secretly for a long time again, but it's okay. After getting through this winter, there will be sunny days ahead, because she will live a wealthy, happy, and long life. This is the best ending I chose for Lily with my points. Lily, live well. I felt the sounds in my ears getting smaller and smaller, smaller and smaller, until finally, it was completely silent. Daisy died at the hands of the kidnappers, and was left alone in the wilderness. It was said that Daisy's last distress call before her death was made to Ivan. In such an urgent moment, Ivan didn't believe her. So after Daisy's accident, Ivan seemed to go crazy. He searched the whole city and found the whereabouts of the two kidnappers and beat them half to death without caring about his own life. If the police hadn't arrived in time, these two would have lost their lives, but he wasn't any better off. He lay in the emergency room for several days. Later, it was revealed that the female star Susan was also involved in this matter. As soon as these news came out, they stayed on the hot search for a whole week. It shocked the entire entertainment industry. Many media and news outlets were desperately trying to contact Ivan, but since taking care of Daisy's affairs, Ivan had never shown up again. The living room was dark, without any lights on, only a little faint moonlight shone through the window. It fell on Ivan's almost pale face. He sat on the ground, his back against the wall, his hand tightly held a card. In the box on the ground was a delicate wristwatch. It was the birthday gift Daisy hadn't had time to give him. Every time Ivan looked at it, his heart seemed to be torn apart. He hadn't slept for several days, but he was afraid to close his eyes. When he closed his eyes, the scene of that day would reappear in front of him. Every minute and every second of the memory was like a nightmare, constantly haunting him. It was suffocating him. He stroked the wristwatch, feeling his heart ache unbearably. His thoughts were pulled back to a few days ago. At that time, Lily threw this wristwatch over, asking him with a broken-down emotion, "Do you know where Daisy was in a hurry to go when she left me that day? She said she was going to pick up this birthday gift from the store. She said she was going to celebrate your birthday. But what about you, Ivan? Why couldn't you believe her just once? If you had believed her just once at that time, she could have survived." Ivan was hit and his head turned to the side, blood flowing down his forehead. He seemed not to feel it. He lowered his head and stared fixedly at the card that had fallen out beside the box. It was a pink birthday card. On it, in Daisy's handwriting, were written strokes by strokes. The greeting was simple, but when Ivan saw these words, he froze in place, as if struck by lightning. Daisy hadn't lied to him. She had really prepared a birthday gift for him. She had even protected it with her life until her death. Ivan suddenly remembered the almost desperate distress call Daisy made to him at the end. She could have survived at that time, but he had personally cut off this way of life. At first, when he learned that Daisy was going to celebrate his birthday, he pushed off all his work and rushed back, but he waited the whole day, and Daisy didn't come back. Ivan thought Daisy was playing tricks on him again, so he left her alone in the hands of the kidnappers. Daisy had been playing tricks on him again and again these days, and he had never cared. This was the first and only time. But the price was that he had lost Daisy forever. The churning acid in his stomach made Ivan suddenly retch, but he hadn't eaten anything these days, so he couldn't throw up anything. His back against the wall. It was a long time before he let out a breath. His eyes were completely red. Ivan lived in a daze for a month. He often had dreams, dreaming of the past. When he suddenly woke up and sat up, what greeted him was the silent night. His memory began to get confused. He couldn't quite tell the difference between dreams and reality. The weather was getting colder and colder. On the day of the first snowfall, Ivan had another dream. He dreamed of Daisy's birthday. The tip of her nose was red from the cold, but she still insisted on pulling Ivan to the snowfield to make a wish. The snow was falling all over the sky. The snow fell silently. Daisy's voice was soft and gentle, drilling into his ears. She spoke, making a wish piously and seriously, hoping that Ivan would always be by her side. Ivan woke up with a start again. There was a thin layer of sweat on his forehead. He gasped for breath in the dark. Then, in the silence, he gradually realized that what he had just experienced was not a dream. It was a real past memory. Once, he and Daisy were so close. But how did he push things to where they were now? Ivan hung his head, feeling a sharp pain in his stomach. The pain made it hard for him to straighten up. Susan had come to see Ivan several times. This period was the most painful time for her. Not only was she terminated by the company, but she also had to keep proving her innocence at the police station. Daisy's matter was seriously related to her. Finally, when she managed to get out of it, she found that Lily had exposed it online. And she was suffering from unprecedented cyberbullying. There were also problems with her body. Her hair started to fall out in large clumps. She was on the verge of a mental breakdown, feeling that everyone was against her. She kept repeating that she wasn't a murderer. She had just done some wrong things, but she didn't mean to. She was cornered. She wanted Ivan to help her. She originally thought that Ivan wouldn't pay attention to her this time either, but this time, Ivan opened the door. Susan was overjoyed. There was an indelible tiredness between Ivan's eyebrows and eyes. He repeated what Susan had just said. "You want me to help you?" There was obvious mockery in these words, causing the smile on Susan's lips to freeze suddenly. Ivan seemed to laugh. "Then do you know why you were terminated by the company recently, and why you've gradually come to this dead end, Susan? Guess who did all this?" Ivan's voice was very soft, without much emotion. But it instantly made Susan feel creepy. She looked at Ivan, her eyes filled with fear. The Ivan in front of her was so strange that it was as if she had never known him. Ivan opened his mouth and told Susan word by word, "All this is just the beginning." Susan couldn't listen anymore. She covered her ears and ran away. Ivan expressionlessly retracted his gaze. He did blame Susan, but he knew better than anyone that he himself was the one who caused all this. After that day, Susan never appeared in front of Ivan again. Ivan's life became completely quiet, but his stomachache became more and more frequent. He was often woken up by the pain in his half-asleep and half-awake state. He had a very strange dream. In the dream, there was a cold mechanical voice. It told Ivan that originally, he and Daisy could have been together happily forever. The condition was simple: as long as he trusted his lover. As soon as the word trust came out, Ivan's face suddenly changed. He almost anticipated what it would say, and his fingers subconsciously tightened. The system ignored him. It continued. Every time you took Susan's side and asked Daisy to apologize, the times would accumulate. When it accumulates to 99 times, it's the moment for Daisy to leave. If you had trusted Daisy even once, she wouldn't have left so easily, but you never did. All this is your own doing. The mechanical voice had no ups and downs, nor any emotions. Every word, when heard by Ivan, was like a poison-thin needle. The system didn't clearly say whether Daisy's departure meant a real departure or death, but to Ivan, it was no different from death. The paler Ivan's face became, at the end, he closed his eyes in pain. Every apology was the countdown to his separation from Daisy. These words shattered the little self-righteous affection buried deep in his heart. He thought he knew Daisy well and forced Daisy to apologize from the moral high ground, step by step. He pushed her towards death. Those memories emerged one by one like a revolving lantern, pressing down on him, almost suffocating him. Ivan covered his chest and suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. He felt like his internal organs were burning. On New Year's Eve, it snowed continuously throughout the day. Daisy liked flowers. She liked all kinds of flowers, so Ivan bought a bouquet of flowers. He went to the seaside with the flowers. It was too cold by the seaside, and there was no one around. Ivan stood in the heavy snow, quietly looking out at the sea. The sea breeze made his fingers lose all feeling. Ivan seemed not to notice. He stared at the sea for a long time. Then, he stepped into the sea. The seawater was icy cold. Ivan walked further and step by step, towards his end. Fireworks exploded outside the window. When Daisy woke up from the dream, the kitten was already purring softly beside her ear, sound asleep. This was a stray cat she picked up in the rain on the night she returned to her original world. Now it had been 3 months since she came back. The orange cat had grown chubby. When she first came back, she always felt that everything around her was empty. There was no system in this world, no Lily. It was just her. Everything that had happened before seemed like a dream. After waking up, she was back to the starting point. But the countless balance in the bank card told her that this was not a dream. The bonus after the mission was completed was enough to ensure her a worry-free life. Daisy suddenly felt relieved. Before she left all the valuable things to Lily. It was also enough for her to live on. Although they couldn't meet each other, as long as they lived well in their respective worlds, that would be enough. But she didn't expect to reunite with Lily in her dream. At the same time, not only Lily, but also the emotionless mechanical voice of the system. It tried to make its voice sound full of emotional ups and downs. Host, long time no see. Daisy was suddenly stunned, suspecting that she was hearing things, but when Lily's voice came out, she couldn't hold back anymore. Lily kept looking Daisy up and down. She didn't look much different, just a bit thinner compared to in the other world, when the system first found her. She didn't quite believe this strange voice that appeared out of nowhere, but it said that it could let her see Daisy again. Lily agreed almost without hesitation. Daisy rubbed her eyes again and again, choking back tears as she asked the system, "System, what are you up to?" The system said, "Wasn't this your regret before leaving the world? We, the system, also provide after-sales service." "Are you happy?" Daisy was speechless. She suddenly threw herself into Lily's arms. Tears fell down pattering. In fact, Lily had a lot to say, but when it came to her lips, she suddenly couldn't say anything. But it didn't matter, the system said. From then on, as long as they wanted, they would always have time to talk slowly in their dreams. Daisy's life didn't change much, but it became lively again after the heavy snow. The weather cleared up. Every day from then on would be a sunny day, which she liked. Ivan died. Lily held the news for 2 days and finally told Daisy on the Lantern Festival. Daisy didn't even look up. She was only stunned for a second, then asked Lily casually, "What flavor of tangyuan do you want to eat tonight?" Lily felt that she had really let go. She let out a sigh of relief and said, "Black sesame." "Okay." After waking up from the dream, Daisy cooked tangyuan. The sweet and greasy taste filled her mouth. Daisy looked up. Fireworks were blooming outside the window. After all the sales have passed, all trees thrive in spring. The end.